Good morning, everyone. Good to see everyone here. We've had several that have been out sick that are back with us. We still have some that are not feeling well, but that number has been greatly reduced this week, it looks like, so we're thankful for that. One I do want to mention is Tommy Glasgow. I forgot to mention him to Alan this morning, but Tommy caught the flu a couple of weeks ago and has just been having a really tough time with that, and so he asked for our prayers, and so we need to keep him in prayer as well. You know, with the exception of years that I have something else that I planned, I try to do a recap every year of the work that we've been involved in the past year, and also maybe trying to look forward to kind of what our focus may be and our goals may be in this upcoming year. And in a group this size, at any given year, what you're going to have is you're going to have some that had a wonderful past year and some that had a very difficult past year. And I know that's true for the members here. But I would say overall, as a congregation, this has been one of the more encouraging years that we've had in a while. And I'm very thankful for that. You know, Larson mentioned last week just regarding some of the more visible areas that we can observe as far as number, that our number has increased quite significantly this past year. That's come about in a number of ways. First of all, we've had several new families from other congregations that have placed membership with us that have been a great source of encouragement to us, not just because there's someone else here. They add to the number. But these have been families that have come in that have been from the beginning say, hey, I'm here to serve. I want to be part of the group. I want to be part of this family, and I want to work with this family, and I want to encourage this family. And that is what's made their addition such a blessing to us in so many ways. We've also had several that have come back to the Lord this past year, and some that have been away from the Lord for a long time, that have decided to repent and to come back and to be faithful to the Lord. And I'll tell you, that's been wonderful. The Bible tells us that when one sinner repents, that heaven takes notice. That's impressive to me, to think that in the heavenly realm that everything kind of stops and everybody notices, wow, look, this person, and there's great joy in that. Well, if heaven rejoices over that, we have certainly been blessed in that we've been able to share in that rejoicing with several different ones this year. And that's been wonderful for the group here, a great boost to us. And then we've also had additions to several families of our congregation in the way of babies being born. And that's been a blessing for those families. And it's been a blessing for the rest of us as well for a number of reasons. It's given us as a congregation another work that we can be involved in a lot of ways. You know, I maybe am biased on this, but I really do believe that this congregation has some of the best Bible class teachers of any place that I know of. And I believe that that's the case because our Bible class teachers have put forth efforts in preparing themselves to be effective Bible class teachers. And they've done so for years, for decades, they have done that. And that has equipped us to be in a position, I think, of being very effective in our Bible classes. You'll remember, though, a few years ago, I may have already mentioned this, but it was a powerful moment to me. I was walking down that hall during the week sometime, nobody was here, walking down the hall in the classrooms there. And I remember when those classrooms were added on and the excitement that we had on building on those classrooms, because the little classrooms that we were using in the back here were just, like this. And we were going to have this nice facility now to be able to have these classes. And we were excited about that. And we filled those classes for a number of years. But then you remember it got down to where there were like one classroom was being used for storage. Another had 2 kids in it. Another had 1 or 3 kids in it. And that was a discouraging moment for me to realize we have the knowledge and the ability to do a good work in this area, and we don't have the opportunity. And for a long time, my prayer was, God, give us the opportunity. You've equipped us. You've equipped us to be able to do this work. Give us the opportunity to do this work. And I think that this past year has been an answer to that prayer in many ways, in that those classrooms are being filled up again. The classroom that was being used for storage had to be cleaned out because we needed that for space. The other classrooms are full or near full, and we could pack some more. But the point is that God's giving us that opportunity. And in 2023, God blessed us with the opportunity to use that experience and that ability that we've developed through the years to be effective in that area. And not surprisingly at all, our teachers have risen to the task of that. And I'm very, very thankful for that. So that's been a great source of encouragement over the past year. And something else that we have planned for this next year, because of the growth of our young families, and we have so many that are in the midst of parenting responsibilities, we do plan to have a special fall meeting in this year, September 8th through 11th. So you may want to go ahead and mark that on your calendars. We normally have not traditionally had a fall meeting, but this year we will have a meeting September 8th through the 11th with Brad Sullivan. And we've asked Brad to come and to do a special series of lessons, mostly focused on parenting. And so if you're not a parent, don't say, well, I don't guess I'll bother to come to that. No, it will be on bringing up children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord, which we all have a part to play in accomplishing that and encouraging that. So we hope and pray this will be good for the congregation, particularly in the areas of opportunity that the Lord has blessed us with most recently. Something else that took place this past year that was a source of encouragement is that it brought with it the appointment of another elder and 2 more deacons. And I know that historically, this congregation has often had 3 elders serving at a time, but I don't know that this congregation has ever had 7 deacons serving at the same time. And it's not the number that's significant. It's the fact that we have godly men that are willing to serve. That's significant, that we have that many godly men that are willing to serve. And I'm very, very thankful that we are in that position. We don't go through that process every year. Usually it's every, 3 to 4 years, we'll kind of look out amongst us and see if we have men that are qualified and willing to serve in those positions. And every time we go through that process, I'll mention to someone that we are going through that process from another congregation. And without fail, there's always, well, I'll be praying for y'all. I hope that goes well. As if, boy, that is a time of tribulation and turmoil that I know y'all are going through right now. And that's just never been my experience with this congregation. I know that happens. I know there are a lot of places that when a congregation starts the process of selecting elders and deacons, everybody braces for the worst because they know it's going to be a problem. In the time that I've been here, in the nearly 30 years I've been here, I've never seen that in this group. I've never seen this group looking for problems when that comes about. And I'm very, very thankful for that. You've always shown a great respect for God's qualifications. You've always shown a great love for the brethren here. You have always shown an appreciation for the roles that these men would be assigned to. And that exercise of spiritual wisdom among this group has allowed us to go through that process and it be a hopeful, a joyful time that where we're looking with hopeful expectation to what will come of that. And that's wonderful. And the fact is, probably it is because of that we're in the position that we are today, where we have men that are willing to serve. When a congregation, every time that they go through the process of looking out among themselves to see if they have men qualified, it's a painful experience. Guess what? Because before long, nobody wants to go through that process. Nobody wants to serve in those roles. And it becomes a big problem. That's not been the case here. And I think that's put us in a good position of having qualified men in those roles presently, and also preparing for the future in developing men to be qualified in days to come. And so that's been a great source of encouragement, I think, as we've gone through this last year. That we've gone through that process again. It's been successful in that we've had more men appointed, but also just the maturity of the congregation in being able to handle that process. Something else this last year has brought about, financially, we've been able to meet our regular responsibilities for the work here. And we've also been able to support Ed Brand in his 5 trips to preach overseas in 2023. I believe he was able to go to, I think, 15 different places, mostly in Africa, and preach the gospel. And that's been a pretty incredible work that he's been doing there. First of all, it's pretty credible. I don't know how old Ed is. I think he's 82, something like that. And he goes places that are difficult places. And he spends half of his time throughout the year going to those difficult places, many times traveling by himself at 82. And for that, I really, really commend him. Because he's going to places where a lot of people are not willing to go. And the reason he's going to those places is because there's a need there. And he's doing an effective work there. I didn't go back and look through his reports to see how many were baptized on his trips this past year. But a number were. And a number of places that he has worked with in the past that need constant encouragement and strengthening, he continues to go back and do that work. And it's wonderful that we are in a position where we can partially help financially support Ed on those trips, because in doing so, we do share in the fruit of that work. And so we're not directly involved in that work as far as being present in Africa, but we are sharing in that work and enjoying the fruit of that work. And so I'm thankful that we've been able to do that. And I hope and pray and I believe that there's been a lot of growth individually among our members. I'm sure that's not the case with every member here, but I would say overall, it seems to me that I have seen most of us grow, and develop, and mature, and push ourselves a little harder to be a little bit more useful in God's kingdom and to do the work. One of the things, the elders are meeting with every family in the congregation, and first question we're asking everyone is, how are you doing spiritually? And maybe a follow-up question to that is, how are you doing now as opposed to 12 months ago? Have you grown over the last 12 months? And we trust that everybody's telling us the truth, but many of you said, yeah, I feel that I have grown. I've got maybe more work to do in other areas, but I feel like I have grown in the last 12 months. And hopefully that is true for us, that we really are maturing and growing, and we are stronger now than we were 12 months ago, and pushing ourselves to be more useful in God's kingdom in whatever way that we possibly can. We've had a couple of opportunities this last year to kind of expand our work in some different areas. We've already mentioned that because of the number of children that we've got in the congregation now, that we've been able to do a little bit more with our Bible classes. But that also enabled us to have a vacation Bible school for the first time in a number of years. And I'll tell you, I've not been encouraged overall by the effectiveness of vacation Bible schools in the last 5 to 10 years. It just seems like that people are not as interested in that work as they once were. Attendance for vacation Bible schools in the area have typically been down and a little disappointing. So I was reluctant, since we haven't done this in several years, I was a little reluctant to I don't know, I'm not sure how it would go. Whether we'd have good attendance, whether it be something where it was like a lot of work was put into it and it was rather disappointing. A lot of work was put into it. Our teachers rose to the occasion. They used that experience and that ability that I had mentioned earlier and put forth a very good effort. And I thought it went really, really well. It was well attended. It was well attended by our members, but it was also well attended by other Christians in the area, but also the friends of some of our children. Okay, and that's really the focus of it. The focus is if we can find a way to broaden this out and to do some teaching to those that maybe that we know, classmates, teammates, friends, neighbors, relatives, and give an opportunity to introduce them to the Bible and to the Scriptures. That's what we're shooting for. And we were able to do that, and I thought it went really well. Lord willing, we hope to do that again this next year, probably the same format at the end of our June meeting on the Friday and Saturday, have a vacation Bible school very similar to what we did this last year. Jeff May will be holding our June meeting, and he has agreed to teach the adult class for that Friday and Saturday of the vacation Bible school. So felt like that was a good work that we have not done in a while, that we were able to do this past year, and it was successful enough that we hope to do that again. Something else that several of us have been participating in 2023 that was different from past years was the monthly men's study. The ladies have successfully had a monthly class for a number of years, but this is the first time that the men have put forth such an effort to do so. And I'll just tell you that the men are not as good at hosting this as the ladies are. We're a little awkward about that, but it has been a very good study, and participation has been good. We've had good numbers every time. The studies have been good. The encouragement, I think, has been a really good opportunity for us to encourage each other and to help each other. And by the way, this Thursday will be the first one of this month. It'll be at Dwight's house, 6:30. But these types of gatherings give us a little bit different opportunity in our encouragement for one another. It gives us an opportunity to spend time together outside of the assemblies. It gives us a time to get to know each other better, to grow closer, and also to focus our studies on topics that are maybe more specific in nature. And I think those are good. I think those are good for Christians. And I'm thankful that we have as many as we do that are interested in those type of studies. And if you've not been going to, ladies, if you've not been going to the ladies' class, I'd encourage you to do so. I think that I haven't been to one, but I hear they're encouraging. And I think they would be for you. And men, if you haven't been coming to the men's study, I would encourage you to do so. I think that is a worthwhile way to spend your time and your effort in getting to know some of your brethren better and learning and growing together. So God's blessed us this past year with a lot of positive things that have taken place. But there have also been a number of difficulties. And a lot of those, I was just thinking back, what are some of the big challenges that we had this past year? And the ones that most readily came to mind mostly had to do with physical problems. We've had several that have had a lot of challenges health-wise over the past 12 months. And there have been quite a few of the congregation that have had the challenge of caring for loved ones that are in poor health. Either a spouse that is really struggling with their health, or a parent. And I haven't been through this yet in my life, but I can only imagine the challenge that is, how mentally and physically and even spiritually exhausting that can be. And so I know that we've had a number of our members that have been going through that this past year. And I know that that's been a challenge for them, like I said, not just in that it's time-consuming and physically exhausting, but spiritually. That is a weight that they've had to bear this last year as well. But I've also seen how selfless that our members have been in taking on that responsibility and doing that. And I trust that the Lord rewards for that. The Lord instructs us. It's His will. When we're thinking about, well, how can I honor the Lord? I think about the Pharisees and the scribes that they decided they could get out of the responsibility, or at least shirk some of the responsibility of caring for their aged parents by taking whatever money that they would have spent for that and devoting it to the temple. And Jesus says, you are breaking God's law in doing that by not honoring your father and mother. I know that that is something that God is serious about. I know that is something that God takes notice of. And I know that when Christians are under that responsibility and bear up under that responsibility and are selfless in that and give the care that's needed in those and take care of their own, that God will reward that. And so I know that we've had several going through that. I trust that the Lord will reward such devotion. We've also had, of course, a number that have had serious health issues themselves that they're dealing with. And we've got a number that can no longer get out and be with us. And I know that that has to take a toll. There's a reason why God said, don't forsake the assembling of yourselves together. There's a spiritual encouragement that comes from that. And when someone's health no longer allows them to do that, I know that has to be a burden on them physically. And I really appreciate, or spiritually, excuse me. I really appreciate the fact that the congregation here often remembers our shut-ins in prayer. And not just in prayer, but also in checking on them, showing concern for them, sending cards, whatever it can be to try to encourage and strengthen them. And I'm sure that they need that. I'm sure that they need that. There have been others that have been dealing with more serious ongoing health issues that have been major disruptions in their life. Deborah Hamilton has had a lot of problems this year. I told Dwight I didn't want to start mentioning specific names because I know that I'll leave someone out. But Deborah's one. Carrie Gilbert, as you know, Carrie's done well. And I think handling the physical challenges that he's had this year. But I know that that's a reoccurring thing, and I know that weighs on. Sheila Pierce recently has had quite a bit, but she's doing better on the mend. Thankful for that. Tommy Glasgow, I mentioned him a second ago. Don Ezel's had a lot of trouble this past year. Vicki Bragwell has some tests that she's trying to figure out exactly what's going on with her right now. Mary Williams, there's so many that we can name. One that I think has probably affected us in a little bit of a special way is Larson's difficulties this past year. That was a very unexpected health crisis that impacted all of us in a special way, mostly because Larson is in front of us a lot. He's a face that we see a lot, but also because of the place that he's at in life, age-wise, and then kind of the unexpectancy of something like a brain tumor. I think that probably caught a lot of us off guard. But you know, with all of these things, I think what it's a reminder of, and Larson's really done a good job of pointing this out to us, this is a reminder of this is what life is. It is a vapor. It is fragile. And none of us are going to make it out alive unless the Lord returns quickly. But that's been before us this last year. And while that's, I'm putting this on the negative side of 2023 because of the challenge and the difficulty, it really is probably a positive thing that this is before us and we're mindful of it and we're aware of it. God tells us as we go through this life that we need to have the end in mind. And these type of challenges oftentimes bring our mind back to that. And I've talked to Larson about this earlier. Larson's been reluctant to, I don't know how he would describe it, but I would say he's been reluctant to make too many of the points very personal about himself. I don't think he wants it to be, well, let me tell you about what I'm learning through all of this. But I really tried to encourage him. Please tell us what you're learning through this, because we need that lesson. We need those lessons. And so I appreciate the fact that he has been sharing many of those things with us, and pray that that he'll continue, and pray that God will grant him and many other of our members many more years to be able to continue to serve and to encourage and to do work in the kingdom. So while that's been a negative for us in so many ways, I do believe that it's been beneficial for us in a lot of ways. And then there have been some members that we have lost. We have lost 2 members this past year that have been part of this group for 50 plus years. That's Joel Graham and Howard Lewis. You know, part of God's design for a local congregation is to help each other to successfully cross the finish line. And I believe that we have helped Joel and Howard successfully cross the finish line. Neither of these men took a lot of very visible public roles in front of the congregation. But both of them did a lot behind the scenes that many people are probably not aware of. You know, Joel was a deacon's deacon. Joel was not a deacon, but he was a deacon's assistant. Him and Carl spent a lot of time together. And Carl's one that Carl's kind of the deacon that, I don't know if we made an official assignment that he's the deacon for the upkeep of the building and so forth. But he spent a lot of time doing that. That's part of the work that he puts a lot of focus on. And Joel was his assistant in that, and helping him with that, and taking care of those things. And Joel did a lot of work in that. And I know it was an encouragement to Carl, but it was an encouragement to a lot of us in that. But he did a lot of things that probably people didn't know about and weren't aware of. Howard Lewis was one of the most tender-hearted and generous men that I have ever known. Many of you know this story because I mentioned this at Ira May's funeral. But 29 years ago, just a little over 29 years ago, Amanda and I were moving in a double-wide trailer right down the road on 22. And we were renting that, and it didn't have a refrigerator. And we were unloading boxes out of the back of my truck, and a truck pulls up with Howard and Ira May. And they got out, and they introduced themselves. Of course, I had met them when we had tried out here, but there's a lot of people that I didn't remember. And so they said, "Well, do you need any help with anything?" We were like, "No, we're everything's taken care of. Things are going fine, you know." And I said, "Oh, do you know anybody that's maybe got a used refrigerator for sale? Because this place doesn't have a refrigerator. And so I'll be looking for a used refrigerator." He said, "Well, I don't know of anybody right offhand, but I'll keep that in mind." And so they got in their truck and pulled off. We continued to unload. I suppose it was about 2 hours later we were there, and the same truck pulls in, and there's a tall cardboard box in the back. And I thought, oh no, he misunderstood. He was trying to be helpful, and he went and bought a brand new refrigerator, and I can't pay for a brand new refrigerator. He didn't intend for me to pay for a brand new refrigerator. Howard and Ira May just saw that we needed one, went to town, bought us a refrigerator, and helped us install it. And that was the type of man that Howard was. And through the years, Howard's helped me with all kinds of things, from changing out alternators on a tractor to just anything you can think of. He was a very handy man, very knowledgeable man, and willing to help in any way possible. Howard was one of those people that in the area, in the community, had a special concern for those that he felt were lonely, that were vulnerable, that were in need, and he really made an effort to do those type of things, to check on those type of people and care for those type of people. And many of you know that, but probably none of us know just exactly how much he did in that way. He was also particularly encouraging to me because I think about a couple of things. He encouraged me to start a Bible study at country cottage assisted living. And he would go with me every week to help with that. He didn't do any of the teaching. I did the teaching, but we would ride together up there every week. And he would go around to the different rooms, and he would check on different ones, say, hey, you want to come to the Bible study? When I wanted to start a Bible study at Wendy's in Russellville, I wanted somebody to go with me so I wouldn't be sitting at the table all by myself. And Howard said, well, I'll go with you. So for every week for, 3 years, Howard went with me. He wasn't very visible in a lot of the work that he did, but he was very active in a lot of the work that he did. In one sense, Joel and Howard's contributions have been lost in that they're no longer here to do them. Those works and those roles, someone's going to need to do those. And they've left us a good example of how to do that work. And in that sense, their contribution carries on to the next generation. And so it is sad that we've lost two individuals that, first of all, have been such a part of this congregation for so many decades. But also that we lost two individuals that were real workers behind the scene in vital roles. But I'm so thankful that they've left us that example for others to step up into those roles. Let me mention something else about this past year regarding vital roles within the congregation. 2023 was the first year in 40 years that the eldership of Quinn did not have Don Ezel serving as an elder. He was serving as an elder a good 10, 11 years before I came here, and served as an elder the whole time that I've been here up until this last year. He stepped down because of health reasons. But Don's past 40 years of shepherding this congregation has prepared us to be able to make that transition. When a congregation makes the transition from someone who has been in the leadership of that congregation for that long, usually that transition is pretty rocky. Because, well, how do we do things now? We're so used to this way. That's not the way that Don shepherded the congregation. Don shepherded the congregation in such a way that we would be able to make that transition without a major disruption to the work. And I would say this, he's back there right now watching the door. Don has stepped down from serving as an elder of this congregation. He has not stepped down from being a servant of this congregation. And the ability of a man to contribute so greatly to the work of a group, to build them up and to build them up so that they can carry on when he's not there, that's the mark of a great member and a great leader. And much of what this congregation is today is because of that steady care for this group for the past 40 years that Don has given. And we've seen Don grow spiritually through that time and be the example for us. Okay, this is what we need to be growing spiritually. And I really, really do appreciate that. And because of his care for the cause of Christ in this group, I feel like that the good that we've experienced this last year is in part because of him and others like him who for decades now have cared about the cause of Christ in this group. So their years of building us up allows us to get stronger and stronger and function more and more as the body of Christ, where every part does its share. And in that, their roles have not been diminished at all, but rather shown to be vital. So I really, really do very, very thankful for the years of service that Don has put into shepherding this group and continues to put into serving this group. So 2023 has been a year with a lot of positives, a lot of visible growth, a lot of notable challenges as well. So what do you think 2024 holds for us? I think I know. I'm confident that I know. The next 12 months are going to be a year that is filled with opportunities, mixed with challenges. Because that's what every year holds. Opportunities mixed with challenges is what every year holds. So what's our strategy? Going into this next year, what is our strategy to make use of these opportunities and to overcome these challenges? Here's what I believe it is. Honor God. That's what we're trying to accomplish. Give God the respect and the praise that He deserves. Do that individually. Let us do that as a congregation. Conduct ourselves in a way that glorifies God, that we can be a light that draws people to the Lord, to honor Him, worship God in spirit and in truth. What we do collectively, let it be genuine praise to God. Not show, not formality, not ritual, but genuine, heartfelt praise to God. Train disciples. Help each other to be more and more like Christ in our thoughts, in our actions, and to do that by knowing God's Word, teaching God's Word, and encouraging each other to practice that Word. Build each other up in love, in unity, in spiritual support, in closeness. And thirdly, spread the gospel. Spread the good news of Christ's kingdom. See the value of every lost soul that we come in contact with. Not just in our public efforts. Okay, we're having a gospel meeting. Let's send out some cards and invite some people. But in our everyday lives. Larson's lesson last week, I love the point that he made about looking for the one. Remembering the one. Building upon that parable of Jesus, the lost sheep. Looking for that one. That needs to be our goal. What soul can we share the gospel with? What soul can we bring to our Lord? Having the boldness to share the truth with those that we know need it. Now, that's not any different than our strategy was last year. And that's okay. I don't think our interest needs to be, we need to find some new strategy. What we need to do is we need to be loyal to the cause of Christ. And we need to continue to build and to take the positive momentum that God has given us from this last year, that we gained over the last 12 months, and keep it rolling to make sure that we're true to the course that the Lord has laid out for us. And if we can do that, and we can put forth the effort that the Lord deserves in that, then whatever 2024 holds, we'll be able to use those opportunities, and we'll be able to overcome those challenges to be one of Christ's churches. That picture in Revelation of Him standing among His churches, knowing their works. We want to be a congregation that overcomes and finds the reward that the Lord wants to give us. And so as we go into this new year, let's be thankful for all that God's blessed us with. Let's take that encouragement and that momentum and stay true to the course. This morning, we assemble together as we remind each other regularly to stir up love and good works. Can we help you? While we're assembled, is there some way that we can build you up spiritually? Can we do something for you to help you to be more faithful to the Lord, to make correction in your life, to find strength to overcome temptation, to be what you need to be? If there is some way we can help you, let that be known. Really, let that be known. We're going to offer an invitation song. The purpose of that is you can come forward and say, hey, I need prayers for this. I need help with this. I need to be obedient to the Lord in this. And we'll assist you in doing that. Doesn't have to be that moment. But let me just encourage you, going through this year, reach out to your brethren for encouragement and help and support. If there is some way we can help you now, we want to. Please come while we stand. Thanks for watching. If you found this video to be beneficial, please follow us on Facebook or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Feel free to share it with others that you feel like may benefit from it. If you need to contact us, please contact us via email at quinn.church@yahoo.com. Also, if you're in the area, we would love for you to come visit with us at one of our assemblies. Have a good day.